Stepmom to cult mom, Lori Vallow expected in a courtroom in Hawaii today for an identification hearing. After that, she'll be headed to Idaho, where she's facing 2 counts of child endangerment. Vallow is expected to have those charges read to her at a hearing set for Friday. Vallow will reportedly be flown back to Idaho on a commercial flight with, quote, multiple law enforcement officers along with her. Vallow's 2 children, 17-year-old Tylee and 7-year-old JJ, have not been seen since September. According to friends, Vallow and her husband, Chad Daybell, are part of a Doomsday Cult, or group. Besides the missing children, authorities are also investigating 3 suspicious deaths, possibly also connected to this couple. Both of their spouses are dead. Vallow's brother is dead. All died shortly before these 2 lovebirds tied the knot in Hawaii. I want to bring back my guest on this one. Molly, you've wanted to talk about this all morning. This woman has riled people up around the world. They just are so frustrated because, first of all, if she knows where the kids are, where are they? What's your take on this? Do you think the kids are dead, or do you think that there is an opportunity that they might be alive? Because Chad Daybell in the airport over the weekend told an ABC News producer the kids are fine.
Yeah, he made that statement over the weekend. This case is fascinating. I mean, the cult prepping a people is fascinating. The series of suspicious deaths right before their wedding is fascinating. And all of this is going to come into play as this case continues to matriculate with the prosecutor's office. What's different between this case and Stepmom is that she's not charged with the murder. So we know that if the prosecutors have some evidence for whatever reason, they're not charging her during these extradition and identification hearing processes and procedures. They're maybe going to eventually charge her, but if they had the evidence to indict her or accuse her of murder at this point, they probably would. But instead, she's just charged with obstruction and charges like that. And so now she's having these procedures to eventually come to Idaho, and we'll see kind of what unfolds. But it's a very different posture than is the stepmom who is charged with murder.
Right. Child endangerment, 2 felony counts, but still, to Molly's point, it's not, they don't have the goods, obviously, Holly. What do you think is going to transpire over the next few days? If the kids are alive, you would think, starting soon, they're going to be produced, right? Just so that she can walk out of jail if these 2 are so in love.
Well, I doubt that that's going to be the way that this goes down. But I will say that giving this case a platform and giving it some notoriety, if these children are locked in a basement somewhere or hidden somewhere, it's going to bring attention to the fact that we've seen their faces on TV now. We're seeing it in the news everywhere. Perhaps if they are still alive, someone sees them, finds them, comes forward.
The cult portion of this is the only way I think they are alive, right? It's like, it's a disgusting part of this story that people get worked into these types of situations. But if there are other cult members, off in some remote area taking care of the children, maybe they are alive. It's just a matter of these adults getting a grip on reality and realizing the seriousness of this.
Right, and I think we've seen time and time again with criminal prosecutions involving cults, you do have this factor of brainwashing. And so perhaps individuals who are part of the cult and maybe housing the children right now, they're not of the right state of mind. They could easily be persuaded by this woman and her husband to just follow the cult's tenets and procedures and don't respond to police, even though this is becoming a very highly publicized, high-stakes case.
Be strong, because their belief is that the end of the world is coming in July of this year. So, hey, no reason to listen to the police. You got the end of the world coming in July. And because of our cult status, we're in a good position. It's all nonsense. This is Chad Daybell's, some of his writings. He's written many books about the end of the world and being part of the 144,000 left standing. It is so frustrating, I'm sure, for investigators. Holly, separating them could help. A couple days in jail could help, because her family says she was a different person just a year ago, was a regular mom.
I don't know if I'm fully buying into that story yet, because I think that, of course, people have to have a susceptibility to be pulled into these types of situations. I want to know more about these suspicious deaths of their spouses. I want to hear more about that, and I do think that as this case develops, that's going to become more and more relevant, especially if there's some sort of tie between all of these mysterious deaths around these two lovebirds.
There's potentially five bodies at the end of this if the children are not alive.
That we know about.
If they are alive, there are 3. Do you think, Molly, end of the day, Chad Daybell is also going to be in handcuffs?
Oh, I think so. If anything, they're going to put him in handcuffs and arrest him and try and get him to flip on her and then offer a dismissal of the charges. But you absolutely need to find some way to hold him criminally liable at the beginning to get information, to further your investigation.
Separate and put pressure, mount that pressure. And I suspect that after July comes and goes, maybe some of their willingness to speak could come up. You see Chad Daybell there, he was walking in Hawaii. Again, he boarded a plane over the weekend to come back to Idaho so he could be with his wife. And he claimed the kids were in good condition or were safe or something. I forget exactly what he said, but the way he said it made people believe that they're alive. We'll have to wait and see. Final thoughts on this case. Where do you think it is going? Do you think, let's assume the kids are still missing for an extended period of time. Where does this go?
Well, if you're the prosecutor, I think you want to buy yourself some time and keep trying to find them, alive or not alive. If you're the defense attorney, I think you file a constitutional speedy and you try to make the state prove the case with what limited investigation and evidence they have already.
Final question: if you're defending her, there are kids involved. What's your how do you ethically? Because as much as people hate defense attorneys, I know that you're both lovely people. How do you ethically get to the truth about the kids without compromising your clients, the job you're hired to do, protecting your client?
At the end of the day, when it comes to being a defense attorney, it's not about whether or not she killed the kids. It's about what evidence the state has. And that's the truth. That's the Constitution. And so at this point, it's pretty clear based on the charges that they have against her that they don't have the evidence to meet their burden as it pertains to murder. And I'm sorry, that's just how it works, ladies and gentlemen. And so you kind of, in this case, if you're defending her, see what happens. And if it's just going to be some charges, some low-level charges involving child endangerment, fine, let's go. There's no proof, let alone proof beyond a reasonable doubt at this point that she killed those kids.
Right. You would be aggressive with your defense, get it moving, don't waste time, and see what the state has, which is probably very little.
Yeah, and I'm pretty much always aggressive with my defense.
Really? Shocking.